Welcome to Deerfeet. I'm Renee,
And I'm Jess.
and we're the Deerfoot sisters. This week we're talking about forgiveness.
Yes. So
Such a
first,
simple word, but so hard to do when you've been hurt.
is that a song?
Yeah, it's that song we used to sing. I forget what it's called. Oh, I think it's called Forgive. I
Oh,
want to say it's by Rebecca Lynn Howard.
interesting.
Yeah, it's about a cheating husband.
How does it go? I honestly don't remember that.
It's like, you dropped a bomb right where we live and just expect me to forgive. That's a mighty big word for such a small man, and I'm not sure I can. So on and so
Okay,
forth.
I do vaguely remember that now. Interesting.
But actually, that might not be what that's from. No, I'm forgetting. But anyway, moving on.
Oh my gosh, I wish you had planned that joke ahead of time or whatever so you would know what we were talking about.
It's not a joke. It was just, every time I hear forgiveness, I think of that word.
Better than happiness?
Yeah, when I think of happiness, you just can't ever sing it.
All right, so first we were just going to do a check-in. It's been a while since we've recorded. I feel like a couple of weeks, but it's probably only been like a week. I honestly don't remember. Our last episode was
It's been a couple weeks, for sure.
part 3 of Quarantined Friends, where we had Audrey and special guest Finn on.
Yep.
And Jess, I don't know why I'm calling myself Jess, but
Yeah,
I
everyone knows your
got
name's
cut
Jess.
off from the episode and then had to just text in. I was really dying laughing when Finn was recounting his story of being waxed. That was very hilarious. um, I had the same thoughts of Renee of, well, why did you put duct tape, or why was there duct tape on your ankles? And he just wanted to do that. And then when you said, well, I hope it wasn't too painful, and he's like, it was. You're like,
I know.
well, sorry.
Oh, okay. So I'll clarify the songs for you. So the song I sang to you is Forgive by Rebecca Lynn Howard, but the song that the quote is from is actually I Wonder by Kelly Pickler,
Okay, yes. I
which
have
is
heard.
about her mom who left
Yes.
her.
Yep. All
That's
right.
where, okay, getting my country stars crossed.
True, true. So we have a few other friends that we plan on bringing into.
What are you on an exercise ball or what?
Yeah.
You're like bouncing. Okay, that's really weird.
Sorry, I'm sitting on my ball.
Do you
Um,
sit on that every day?
Not all the time. I mean, like, yeah, usually for some time a day. It really does work your abs, because then I'm like, I'll get a little tired of it, so I'll go back to my chair, which is over there.
I just sit in this really uncomfortable straight back chair that's like really not comfortable to sit in. I guess you can't see it really.
You can see the
Or
very
see
back
the
of it.
very top.
My chair is not like super uncomfortable, but
Mine's like cheap. It came in set with our dining room table, and all together for like 6 chairs and a table, it was like $100. So you could guess the construction quality.
anyway, so we are going to still do a few more segments of quarantined friends because we have a few more friends we want to get on. But I think it was tough to schedule some of them, and I don't know. I feel like busier now,
Oh,
and I'm
you've
not
been
even
doing a
watching
lot.
TV. Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to like do stuff. So I'm like, have all this time, I better do stuff, and then it's like I don't have time because I'm doing so much stuff. I don't know. Um,
And you're like working full time, which like is your first job. So,
it's not my first job, but yeah, I haven't been working.
well, okay, it's not your first job, but it's like one of your first full time jobs.
Yes. Um, True. I only had 2 full-time jobs before that, but yes, I hadn't been working for a while, but I was in school, which I mean, it is true. I think when you're in school full time, that like you're basically working as much as a full-time person is working.
But it's different just because of like flexibility wise.
Yeah, the times when you have to do things are different.
Yeah.
Now that I'm done with school, like last week was my last week of school, I do have more time. Because I tried to finish up all my assignments as early as possible or whatever. But last week I did actually have to go to like sit in a couple of classes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so not having to actually do that anymore is nice. And then my one set of classmates, it's like we didn't have our one class, but then we all basically got together and like played games. So I was like in class as usual, or essentially we threw our own class party
Right.
on Wednesday
That's
night.
fun.
So
That's fun. Yesterday?
yeah, last week. So
Oh.
this week I've been a lot more free, I feel like. But I went to bed so early on Tuesday. I went to bed at like 8:30. And that's why I woke up at like 5 on Wednesday and did some workouts and stuff.
I thought you woke up at 5 today.
Hmm?
I thought you woke up at 5 today. That was yesterday you're talking about?
That was yesterday. Today I woke up at like 7.
Interesting.
I said to take naps. I didn't take a nap yesterday. I
Yeah,
just
but you're
went,
like, I woke up really early at like 5,
I
implying it was today,
said
not like once in your
yesterday.
life you woke up at 5.
I said yesterday because you were like, I
Mm-hmm.
took a nap. And I'm like, don't take naps. Like,
Well, we went on like a walk outside, and then it was like hot when I got back, and I laid down and I just fell asleep.
yeah.
Also, like, why can't I take naps? It was like a 25-minute nap. It's like a good amount of time for a nap.
Well, yeah. I guess you have to be meaningful about your naps. But
Okay, Jess. Not everyone can quarantine the same way as you. Quarantine queen.
okay, whatever. Anyway, so this week we're talking about forgiveness. So we're gonna discuss first what prompted us to want to talk about this topic. So it's kind of dually prompted, but the main thing that really, really prompted us was a post that one of our mutual Facebook friends put up. So we're just gonna read the post to you because both Renee and I had very like extreme reactions to this post. Um, and we'll see what you guys think. So, this post was titled Facts That Adults Don't Tell You About Bullying. And the first one said there were like 6 points. Communication doesn't work on bullies. Telling a bully they're making you feel bad is the wrong way to go. They want to make you feel bad. That's the point. So, second point, being kind to a bully doesn't always mean they'll stop. Sometimes it means they'll use your kindness to manipulate you while still continuing to bully you. Not every bully has a sympathetically tragic home life. Sometimes people are just mean. Sometimes people just get off on hurting others. On that note, a tough home life is a reason, not an excuse. You don't have to put up with bullying because someone's life sucks, just like you don't have to let someone mug you because they're broke. Now, here's the kicker that really triggered us. In order to forgive someone, they have to apologize first. If your bully has not apologized to you, you do not owe them anything. Now there's 3 more. Getting bullied as a kid still mess you up in adult life. Many kids grow out of being bullies, but the marks they left often don't go away. There are ways to get people to stop bullying you, but they almost all involve being mean back. And the final one is as long as parents keep raising bad, well, shitty bullying kids, there will be bullies. No amount of assemblies and hand-drawn posters will fix the problem. It's the parents' fault. So,
Yeah, agree to disagree with some of those points.
I feel like I disagree with most of them, and then like maybe some of them like it's just the like I mean, yeah, maybe the one about like being nice to the bullies. Like I don't think that means you shouldn't be nice to bullies, but I do agree that it probably wouldn't make a bully stop just if you're nice to them. Um, but I don't think that means you shouldn't be nice to them. But I just read that and I'm thinking like, what? Like this is so backwards. And the thing about forgiveness really struck me because I guess just because we have such a different philosophy about forgiveness or whatever, and the way that we feel about forgiveness after a brief amount of research I saw was backed by UC Berkeley. So I feel very comfortable with that.
Yeah, I
But it's
agree.
also just like, I don't know. Like I was just very much like, it really frustrated me because it
Well,
was
it
just
sounds like it was just
ignorant.
written by like a really petty, immature person who
I
wrote that.
know. Right.
Like
And it's
that
like,
obviously they had some kind of scars that they have not dealt with, but that's not an emotionally mature reaction. So like I don't know, like you should be giving advice when obviously you don't even like know what you're talking about. You have your own stuff
Right.
to deal with.
And then of course, like, I was like really thinking of something to write and like decided it's not even worth it, because I really tried to like not engage with people on Facebook. If it's someone like I know personally and I'm kind of like, what's going on, like I'll probably just message them personally and ask if they have like really interesting views that I disagree with or something, and it
Right.
seems like it's important that we discuss it, or if they say something that's like, like really
Racist
emotional,
or
yeah, or
like
even just like really like really emotional, like I can't handle life anymore or something, I'd be like, all right,
right,
okay,
you'd reach out.
but like probably not do it on Facebook. And um Renee obviously knows that like sometimes people can get really into it on Facebook, um because their husband's been doing that lately, although he has really kind of stopped, I think, but for a while he
Yeah, I
was
think he's
getting
reined it
into it
in.
with people, and I was like,
Well,
what's the
because he's
point?
like very passionate about certain topics, and I'm like, I get that you feel strongly about it, but like, what's the point? It's just like, it's just gonna be frustrating, and like, you're just gonna damage relationships. And like, no one on Facebook like posts a status expecting to like learn about why they're wrong, like, so
Right.
I just feel like it's not, for me, it's not worth the time. A lot of times, like, I'll type out a response and then I just like don't actually send it because I'm like, I just wanted to say that, but I don't actually need anyone to read it because I don't feel like starting something.
Exactly.
Although
Like,
I did do one, like when people were this like person we're friends with on Facebook. I don't know if he's like our cousin or what. I'm not sure. But he like always shares like really conservative stuff. And he like posted something when the whole like COVID outbreak started and it was like comparing it to swine flu. And he was like comparing the numbers from like the first month of COVID to the whole like outbreak of swine flu, which was like over a year. And I was like, this really statistically like isn't an accurate representation. Like you can't compare the numbers from 1 month to an entire year. Like this is like meaningless statistically. And he basically was like, no, it's just still a good comparison. I was like, whatever, like it's not, but okay. Because like that's like just something that's objectively incorrect. Like if you're comparing, a length of time, you need to look at the equivalent amount of time, or else your comparison is meaningless. So like I feel like okay, I can say this because it's not just my opinion. Like this is just how statistics works.
yeah. And then, I mean, there are, of course, sometimes where people are asking. Like, I remember I saw one where someone was genuinely asking about um, understanding, like, if someone was using the personal pronoun they, and how they were asking, like, a grammatical question about, like, do you then say things, like,
Like
would you
there.
say, yeah, like, and would you say it like as if it were plural? Like, it was like certain things they were just curious about, and they were like, I'm not like, oh, would you say like they is or they are?
Oh, okay.
Like, if you were saying like, oh, they are really whatever, I think you would just say are because it's like how it sounds. But it was like a
Yeah, and
question.
it'd be really, yeah, I feel like they is, I don't actually know that answer to that question. I don't know anyone who goes by that plural, by that pronoun, so.
I know some. So there were, yeah, there were like, I think there were honestly conflicting answers. So it was just interesting. But of
Yeah.
course, like you can just ask someone. But that was like a thing where, of course, I would probably respond if I like knew if someone was genuinely just asking like for some
Yes,
information.
like that's like they're
Yeah,
actually, yeah, asking for
they're
information.
open
But if they're
minded
just
about
like
it.
posting something inflammatory, they're not like going there to be proven wrong.
Exactly. So UC Berkeley has this Greater Good Science Center, and they have a website that's really all about forgiveness, and it's just like forgiveness defined. So this is what their definition of forgiveness is: a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness.
Right.
So I like that caveat at the end. Also, I think like this is true. Like, it's people always think like, oh, that person doesn't deserve my forgiveness, or that person, I don't owe them anything. But it's like forgiveness is about yourself and about your self healing.
Right.
Before we posted the episode, I shared on Facebook a video of this Fred Luskin guy talking about forgiveness, and he says forgiveness is wanting yes and getting no. So he basically says like you have to forgive. Forgiveness is like, whenever you need to forgive, it's because you wanted something and you didn't get it. So he's like, let's say you were in a relationship and you wanted your partner to be faithful and they weren't. You got like a no to faithfulness, essentially. And he's just his way of like simplifying it. So he's like, forgiveness is accepting it without prejudice. So he's like, so not just saying like, oh, I'm accepting that the world sucks. He's like, that might be true, but you're accepting it with like the idea that you're like hoping that you can, like moving forward and being hopeful about it. So it was just like interesting. He's like, you're letting go of like those bad feelings. So they also
that's how I've always felt. Like forgiveness is not like me forgiving someone has nothing to do with wanting to make them feel better. It only has to just making me want to feel better for myself. Because it's not a resentment isn't a good feeling to hold on to. Like so I would rather not.
right. So it's also kind of interesting too because I feel like and then they also basically say like you have to understand what forgiveness is not. So they're like, it doesn't mean that you're glossing over or denying the seriousness of an offense against you. And it also doesn't mean forgetting or condoning or excusing it. It just means like you're you're able to like move on from it and accept that it happened and then like have peace of mind.
Focus on the future, basically.
Yeah. And it says
I mean,
here,
obviously, I'm really bad at holding grudges, and so are you, because we're just like very open-hearted people. So I can't even hold a grudge if I wanted to, really, like, because this is not in my nature. Nice try.
yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like I don't know. I really agree. Like I can't, and that's the thing is like I don't know. It's like you don't it doesn't mean that you're like naive. I think so many people like when we talk about it, they just think like, "Oh, you're so naive and like you don't understand things." And it's like, "No. Actually understand it probably better than you." Apparently. It's like it's
Forgive me, but you're an idiot.
it's like I think you've said this before. Holding on to a grudge is like holding a brick and expecting it to drown someone else or something like that. Like,
did you say holding a brick and expecting it to drown someone else?
Yeah, like sitting in a pool with a brick and expecting you, like that.
It's actually the quote is like holding onto a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone.
Oh, okay.
You're the one who gets burned. Not drowning people with bricks. Like,
you're the
not
one
really
who
thing.
Well, yeah. So it's true though. Like that resentment is only gets turned against. Like you're the one who feels it. Like also the thing is when people say, "Oh, they did," like the whole not apologizing thing. Sorry, that was my mom. The whole not apologizing thing. It's like if someone doesn't want to apologize to you, they don't care if you forgive them or not. Right. So you withholding your forgiveness also isn't damaging them. They literally don't care. So it's like you're only helping yourself by doing it.
Right.
Which is another interesting way to think about it. Sorry, I just got to text my mom that I'm recording so she doesn't call me back.
I put on my do not disturb because she'll probably call me second.
Well, I called her earlier.
Oh, then she probably won't call me. And she'll not calling her.
Yeah, you never call her because you don't love her, so.
I'll see her tonight on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Google Meets or whatever.
Yeah, I was talking with the girl I babysit for earlier. My voicemail's full. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's because I get. Oh yeah.
Just do that later.
Sorry, Okay, so because I'm like subbing and I'm part of this subbing company, it's so stupid because I already am doing a full-time subbing position, so I don't even think I'd be allowed to take a different position. But they call me so much every single day, so I blocked the number because at first I didn't know what it was, but then I realized it's this company. So yeah, I guess since they go into like a separate folder, I don't even realize I have like 100 voicemails. Anyway, I forget what we were saying. So
no, we were just talking about forgiveness.
Yeah, so people just
and the need to apologize.
Yeah, so it's like it doesn't hurt the person who did you wrong if they don't want an apology and they don't want to mend their relationship and they are just genuinely mean or want to be mean to you and don't care about it, they're not sitting around hoping for you to forgive them, you know?
Right.
And if they
And
are, like,
like I think as far as like the word as like an apology goes, like I'm also much of a believer that like you don't need to necessarily say the words I'm sorry to show that you're sorry. Like, you could have a fight with someone and the way you show you're sorry is by adjusting the behavior that started the fight. Like it's good to say I'm sorry and to own up to your mistakes, but I don't really think it's necessarily necessary to hear those specific words. Like there are other ways that people can show that they're remorseful.
well, I agree with you in a way, but I also disagree with you in a way because I think that if you don't have explicit conversations about disagreements, then you're never really going to come to like a clear understanding of what happened and what was done to make it better. So I think like the issue with that sort of thing is if it happens again.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like if you could also be reading into something that the person's doing that they're not intending. So you could
Yeah, it's
think, oh,
possible.
this person is showing me that they're sorry for what they did, and they could not be thinking it and just be doing something that in your mind is construed in that way. So then when they continue to do the thing you don't like, they could say, well, I never said I wasn't going to do that thing. You know what I mean? So like to
Yeah,
me,
but I think like
it's best.
generally you have conversations about things, but like let's say for example you're having like an argument about something that bothers you and then like in that moment the person is like a little too worked up to apologize. And then maybe they'll apologize later or maybe not, but maybe they will just change the behavior and like to me that's enough.
It's not enough for me.
Well, okay. And also
But
I also tell my students all the time that like when you do apologize, it should have value to it. So like my students, they'll like constantly apologize. Not like right now with remote instruction and everything, but like when I had issues with like classroom management with a few of my kids, they would always just immediately apologize. But I'm like, and I would say to them, stop apologizing to me. Because when you apologize and do nothing to change what I've asked you to change, it is just showing me that your word is cheap and means nothing. So it was like, if you feel sorry, apologize. But if you don't apologize because that just cheapens the value of your word. And I'm like, and to me, that's something that you should try to keep, high value of, should be important. So I would hate like when my kids are just like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're clearly not sorry because you're doing this every single day, nonstop, all the time. And I've seen you in other situations where you don't behave this way. So I know you're capable of not doing this, but you're choosing not to. So like, don't just say I'm sorry because you're obviously not, and it means nothing to me.
yeah,
Which
I
I guess
agree.
why I don't like when like people will force kids to apologize for things because I'm like a forced apology means nothing. Like thanks
Yeah,
for doing what you're
exactly.
told.
Right. I know. That's so true. Um, but yeah, like, so obviously you don't want someone to give you like an insincere apology, of course. But I guess I just mean like it's always better to like I always want to have explicit conversations about things.
Yeah. But
Um,
like you still don't need to hear I'm sorry. Like if you said, "Oh, I'm upset about this," and I said to you, "Hey, you know, I'm really going to try to work better to like do this."
yeah,
Even if I didn't say I'm sorry, because some people
right.
need to hear I'm sorry or else they're like they'll never get over it. And I'm like, that's so silly.
Anyone who fixates on something like that is obviously that's like an emotional immaturity because you have like that just shows like a lack of good communication skills because you have to
Yeah.
understand like you said what people mean, what the intention is, and to be able to talk in different ways about things. So yes, I agree with you in that sense. um but yeah, as long as you're having an explicit conversation about it, I think it's fine. For me personally, because I feel like that's the only way to know that everyone's on the same page,
Yeah.
and that's the best way to make sure that your relationships are healthy. Because if you're continually getting hurt by someone in the same way and you're not having an explicit conversation about it, they can always say, "Oh, I didn't know," or
Right.
it wasn't clear. So
And I
if you
mean, it
make
might
it
not be
clear,
clear.
right? So that's why
Like
it's good
sometimes
to
it's
have,
not.
right? But if you have a good conversation about it and you do a lot of like reflective
Yeah,
listening
exactly. Now,
organically.
How do you feel that, like, in response to the rest of that post, like, about dealing with bullies? Like, not that we have to talk about it too much because it's not really our topic, but like,
Well, I think it's good to talk about it because people might be listening to this and wondering. So after when we were talking about the post, you had said that like a good way to deal with bullies is for upstanders or bystanders to become upstanders, which I think is pretty much what the new research is showing. And I mean, in my experience, that is the way that bullies can be counteracted.
right,
It also helps to counteract the effects of bullying because
right,
if someone's being bullied and then a bystander isn't just standing by, but they're actually standing up, then
right.
it makes the bullied person feel better because they feel like, oh, these people care about me. They have my back. They're standing up for me.
Yeah.
Um, there's so
And
much
it's
like
also important to know the difference between bullying, um, and just like being mean.
true.
Because not every situation where someone's mean to you is a bullying situation.
That's true, but there are a lot of bullying situations because
There are, but
I feel like honestly, it's bullying if it includes a power dynamic, and it typically will because a lot of times when you see that sort of thing, and a lot of times when it's just, and to be honest, anytime when there's a lot of bystanders, it's gonna be a power dynamic thing, pretty much.
right.
Um, but yeah, it's because even if there's girls who are friends and who are peers, but then one like is becomes ostracized for some reason, like that then becomes like a power dynamic because she now doesn't have the friends and the
Yeah.
other girl has the friends. So,
So I think like they talk about some of the like main characteristics for bullying, and one's like intentional harm, and then like unfair match, which is like obviously the power dynamic you're talking about. And I think the last one is like, I don't know if it's repetition or um like the right environment, like
mhm.
an environment of acceptance basically. And that's like they say those are the only ways that that a bullying situation can continue to occur. So the one that's easiest to change is going to be the environment. So if
Mhm.
you tell students or whomever, like if you see something mean happening, speak up about it, socially sanction that person, say like this isn't cool, like that's not a way to treat someone. That's really the only way to get bullying to stop in like in an organic way.
Yeah, of course. And then to say that the posters don't work, I mean that's also not true. Like social emotional learning is so hot right now, and it
Especially
really,
depending on age, like for children,
yeah,
their peers are their like primary source of contact throughout the day, so like they do have a really big effect on them. And that post just doesn't even make sense because in one thing it says like some people are just hurtful and like getting hurting people, and then it's like it's the parents' fault, and it's like okay, well not exact. That's kind of contradictory. Like sometimes most bullies, yes, come from parents who are bullies, like that's true, but not everyone. Sometimes you have really sweet parents and the kid's just like a total a-hole. And like there's obviously some kind of reason behind it, but like it's not always super evident right away, you know. So it's not just the parents, like it's a combination of factors, but I don't know. It's
and
interesting.
like the very last thing of like the amount of people, like the amount of people that are like truly like horrible is probably much smaller than the amount of people who are just misunderstood or who are just immature. Like
Yeah,
sometimes the people are immature and it could just be a simple thing of they don't feel like loved at home and so they get like a satisfaction from this because it gives them attention and like in a sense admiration even though it's more like fear of their peers but it
right.
feels like admiration so just to look at the core of it. But that is like one thing. I mean, the thing is, if you find whatever they're getting out of it and then you stop giving them that, then it will change their behavior. That's just like token economy, like
Right.
behavioral psychology. But yeah, upstanding is the best way to do it. And it happens with adults too, obviously. We have one family member who's definitely like a bully. And um, I remember like I have always been an upstander in my life. So I remember many, many times throughout my childhood where I stood up to bullies. And I was never like a cool kid. I wasn't like, I was mostly like
Yeah.
I was mostly like a quiet nerd. Like I wasn't like I never got bullied personally, just because I was the type that would stand up. So bullies kind of didn't, I guess, want to deal with me. But there were so anyway, I'd always stand up to bullies, and I remember there was a situation one time at summer camp where I was actually kind of one of the more popular girls in the camp group, and there was this one really really strange girl who was basically like the epitome of a wolf shirt girl. She was very weird. So all the other girls were bullying her, and they like upset her a lot. So I stood up to them, and it actually did stop. Like they really did. And so I mean, it definitely works, and it's hard. I mean, you just have to talk to your kids about it explicitly, because when they feel comfortable doing that, it only takes like one upstander to have others join in, you know? Like,
Like when those people cut us in line at Six Flags.
yeah, because then because oftentimes people don't want to be the first, but then they'll feel more
Once you
comfortable.
say something, lots of other people are willing to speak up.
Yeah, because
And
they've
yeah,
been
obviously it
wrong.
happens with adults too. Like if you think of any like a sexual harassment, could be kind of like considered bullying in a way. And like any type of hostile work environment, like if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you've probably experienced a bully of a manager at some point because it's very hostile there sometimes. And lots of other environments as well. So like you can have a boss as a bully. It's not just something that happens to kids, but it's the same is that you have to stand up. And the reason people don't is because they're afraid of becoming the target of the bully. But if
Mm-hmm.
enough people stand up, then eventually the bully will have to stop.
Well, the problem too with like in the workplace is you have the issue of like feeling like you're going to be punished, because even
Yes,
though
of
we know
course.
that's illegal, it still happens, and it's not that easy to
To prove.
pursue, and also to pursue legal action. It's still expensive. So it's like
Yeah, that's true.
most people wouldn't want to do it. They don't want to go through it. They'd rather just deal with the harassment or whatever. But I was talking specifically about our one older family member who is a bully, and who our other older family members never sanctioned and just allowed him to be a bully. And I remember like constantly saying, why are there adults sitting around here letting him torment children? Like I'd be like, what? I'm like literally like calling out my parents and my other family members, like, why are you guys letting him be such a dick?
Yeah,
And
that
then
it's hard when you're family.
I would call him out, and they're always just like, that's how he is. And I'm like, well, he's that way because you'll let him be that way, okay? And it's the same with like anything like that. So even if you have a friend, like even if it's a friend of yours or a family member who's always just like saying mean stuff or belittling others, and you're just like, oh, that's how they are, think again, okay? Because they don't have to be that way. And maybe
You're
they
part of
are.
the problem.
Right. Maybe they are, but you know, you could always either help them change by showing them that's not okay, or show them like if you act that way, you're going to be alone, because that's the consequence of being a jerk. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was more like it didn't like he definitely said mean things to me that like upset me, but of course I would always go off on him if he said mean stuff about you guys. And now that he'll try to say stuff about our cousins, I'm just like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like I don't even get it. Anyway, so another thing that kind of made us think about it, or that I thought this was a good topic for us to do, was a post that Renee had put up on Facebook um, on the day of the anniversary of our dad's death. So our dad died 2 years ago on May 8th, which was about a week ago. And she posted this. She said, "Today marks 2 years since the loss of my dad. I still think of him often, sometimes happy thoughts and memories, sometimes regrets, things I wish I would have said or done. It's trite but valid nonetheless. Don't take the people in your life for granted. Offer forgiveness, spend time with them, and say yes when they offer to take you fishing, even if it's not your favorite thing. All too often, I see relationships ruined over a slight or even imagined offense. Remember, life is short and love is infinite. Give it freely." So I thought that was super beautiful.
Thank you.
That's why I shared it as well. And then my brother shared both of our posts because he copied my sharing of Renee's post, even though he didn't give me credit for saying that it was said best. But whatever. It's so true. Like, look at this website on forgiveness. watch some of these videos, read some of the stuff. There's also a link on the website about how to cultivate forgiveness, so how to become a more forgiving person if you're not naturally inclined to do that, or if you have feelings, some of the like counterintuitive feelings that we talked about earlier. So I would say do that because, you know, like Renee said, love is infinite. You have enough to give to everybody. And it's really tragic when people fall out with one another, especially over something that's so trivial. And most of the time it is trivial. So just forgive each other. Just love each other.
Yeah.
It's so much better that way.
You'll
You'll
feel better probably. And you also can forgive without reaching out. Like if you have like let's say a toxic person in your life that you've had to cut ties with, you could listen to our Am I Toxic episode. Um, that we're not saying you have to initiate contact, but you can still forgive them and just choose to let the feelings go and move on and recognize they treated me this way because they have an issue and this really doesn't have anything to do with me. So I'm going to just put that aside. I'm going to appreciate what happened to me. I'm still not going to have an interaction with them because I know it's not good for my mental health or whatever. But at the same time, like I'm not going to harbor anger or resentment. I'm just going to let them live their life. So just something to keep in mind. You can forgive without becoming best friends or even having contact.
True.
You don't need to tell someone you forgave them. You can if you want to open that door, but you don't have to.
Right. And then you can also, you know, consider if it's something that seems salvageable and you want to, you can go that route as well and try to salvage it, which is also, I think, always good. There was something else I wanted to mention and I totally forgot about it.
Is it in the outline?
No, it was something I was oh, I remember now. What is there anything that you would think is unforgivable?
It's so hard to know the answer to that, you know? Like I was thinking about it a little bit when we decided on this topic. And I feel like I will catch flack even for saying what I'm going to say, but I really feel like there aren't that many things that are unforgivable because as terrible as some things are, like the most depraved acts you can think of, which for me is probably like child abuse, it's obviously like I feel that it's very devastating when that happens. And I think that the people who do it are terrible, but also they're probably just so psychologically damaged. That's like, you know, like they're obviously sick. Like no healthy, adjusted person could do like a heinous crime to another person, whether it's like rape or child molestation or abuse or even animal abuse. Like those are all things that I think I would initially say like, oh, those are unforgivable. If you like abuse an animal or like abuse a kid or, you know, rape someone, like that's unforgivable. But in reality, like it probably eventually would be forgivable if you knew every single circumstance of that person's psyche that led them to be able to even commit an act like that. You know what I mean? Because even like a sadist or like a sociopath who has no regard for human life, is it their fault that they were born that way or were brought up in an environment that, you know, defaulted the wiring in their brain? Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of hard. So I feel like you can forgive everything. And I mean, like, I guess that's what like Jesus believes. So, you know, he's a pretty good person to emulate, but it's not like you would immediately forgive it. And it's like, it doesn't mean that they're not horrific acts. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think I probably feel the same way. Again, because it's like this website was saying, you're not saying it's okay, and you're not saying it isn't horrible. You're saying that you're not holding resentment about it anymore or anger
Because
about it
even like,
anymore.
I think I told you about like one of the podcasts I listen to, Radio Lab, and they have an episode called Blame. And in it, there's like one of the segments is like about this guy who his daughter was murdered by this man. And then over time, the dad of the daughter would like speak to the man who was in prison and he like forgave him for murdering his daughter. And like it's not like it was like a spur of the moment thing. He like broke into her house. He'd had her tied up and she was like talking to him trying to convince him not to do it, you know, and he still like went through with it and murdered her. And so like that's a pretty like premeditated type of crime. But the father was like still able to forgive him. for it. And he's like, obviously I still miss my daughter and like wish she was here, and I hate that you did this, but like I can forgive you. And I'm like, if someone can forgive that, then I feel like you probably forgive most things.
Yeah, and also like it's even just a matter of feeling, because we're such forgiving people, we're not vengeful people. Like,
Right.
you sometimes express thoughts of vengeance, but I think you kind of are just saying it in the moment of like anger. So like you always like if someone cuts you off in traffic, you like wish something bad on them for a second or
I
whatever.
wish that they would get in a bad car accident but survive so they can learn their lesson.
See, I don't even wish stuff like that on people. Like, I always
Yeah.
want people to learn their lessons, but like not necessarily for anything bad to happen to them. Like,
Yeah, it's like
so
really what I wish is like I wish you would do better. Like I
right,
wish you weren't a jerk.
yeah. So it's like, so it's kind of interesting because I feel the same way about it. I know so many people when they hear about people hurting children or things like that, they always think like, oh, they should be tortured and they should be killed in this way. And I have never in my life had a thought like that. And it's not because I don't love children, because everybody knows that I love children the
Right.
most. But it's just that I really feel like the same as you. Like, obviously, someone to do that is messed up. And
Yeah.
even if they're a sociopath or a psychopath and they don't have like emotions in the traditional way, they're still messed up as far as being a human being is concerned. Like, it's not
Yeah.
their fault
I
if they
mean,
don't
that's
have
like the
human
definition of
emotions.
abnormal psychology,
Right.
right? So like
Yeah. So I'm like, it's not, they can't help it
yes,
that
they
they
might
have
not feel like a
emotions.
tortured soul afterwards, and it's not like you would say, "Oh, well, they're going to have to live with that for the rest of their life," because they might not care about it. But at the same time, like, is that their fault? Not saying that the action isn't their fault, but their lack of emotion isn't their fault. Like, I don't know. It's very
Plus,
tricky.
also, to me, it's like even if it is their fault and they were doing it intentionally, and like obviously it's like someone's fault if they do something bad, right? Or they could be considered at fault for these things. I do feel like it's just like I would never be most happy in a world where those people got killed. I'd be most happy in a world where those people became better.
Got reformed, yeah, but it's
So
probably not possible for some people. But maybe in the future, you never know. They get
yeah.
like a little brain implant that gives them like emotions.
Well, some people, I mean, they're not necessarily like even like some people can do really bad things and not and be able to be helped.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
So,
not everyone who commits a crime is a sociopath or psychopath. A
right.
lot of times they're just really desperate.
Like even watching the trials of Gabriel Hernandez, like I was more like what the parents did was depraved and like so disturbing. But I was more angry at the social workers who
Yeah.
are saying like, "Oh, we're good social workers." It's like, no, you're not. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a good social worker. If you were called to the house so many times and you never saw the kid because he was locked up, and you just trusted the parents who are allegedly abusing him, who were abusing him.
Right.
So it's like stuff like that where you're like, that's the thing that I'm almost more angry at those people because you know the
Yeah.
other people are messed up, but these
Right.
social workers are supposed to be good people or supposed to be like functioning people. It's kind of like, and so
Yeah.
many of them, and that's the issue too of like being a bystander and just like going with the stuff, like going with the flow and not really checking up on things. I don't know.
Yeah. That's true.
So anyway, moving on. I think we've talked enough about this. Um, if anyone has any ideas for topics, let us know. But we'll do some of our segments. So the segment formerly known as Weight Watchers. Oh, this is wrong. I think I'm down this past week, like point 0.4. Point 0.4 for a total of 37.8. So I've only really gone down like a pound and a half in the last 2 weeks.
So I
Which,
just started, but Jess made me this really nice journal. So I've been using it this week. I started on Monday, so I left my Sunday one blank. So I just started again this week, but I haven't officially weighed in yet, but I have lost weight according to my scale.
did you weigh yourself though before you started?
I weighed myself at the beginning of this week.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I have like a starting point, and then I'll see how
Nice.
much I lose this week. Probably I'll lose like 3 pounds this week at least, based on what I've seen so far, but we'll see.
Don't weigh yourself every day.
It's like really hard not to.
I know, but it messes you up so much. Because sometimes you'll go down and then up again for like just whatever reason.
Well, I like to weigh myself before and after I go to the bathroom, like before and after I pee. So I'm like, I wonder how much pee I have. And I like weigh myself and I'm like, ooh, that was a pound of pee. Like that was a lot.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. But I take it with a grain of salt. And I weighed Reggie. He weighs 14.2 pounds, which is kind of big, but I think okay for male cats. I'm not really sure. So maybe he's fat. I don't know. But that's how much he weighs.
Interesting. Yeah, I try. Sometimes I'm really tempted to weigh myself like in the middle of the week, but I try to just only weigh myself on Saturdays because I would get really annoyed if I had like lost and then for some reason gained, but like was doing everything right.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'll lose this week because I've like done everything right and it's like my first week back. So it would be really unusual if I gained weight unless I like had my period or something, but I don't. Or if I eat Chinese food or Indian food, then I always like retain a lot of water for like a day.
Yeah.
So I almost always gain if I like have eaten Chinese food the night before.
So you have to do that ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like, I forget what I was going to say. Oh, I'm like on my period right now and it's a very heavy flow. So I was in the bathroom for a while earlier and the girl I babysit for, who I'm like tutoring now, she wanted to FaceTime to do the tutoring. So she texted me and I was like, Renee was actually talking to me when I did this, but I was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. So then she texted me again and she was like, FaceTime now? And I was like, I just didn't say anything. So then I called her. I was like, sorry, I was in the bathroom. She's like, oh, why were you in the bathroom for so long?
Yeah.
And I was
awkward.
like, I was doing stuff. She's like, what? And I was like, well, you know, like sometimes people take a long time in the bathroom. She's like, I never take a long time in the bathroom, which is totally not true because she'll like take her iPad with her and spend an hour in the bathroom. But I was like, okay, well, sometimes people have to be in the bathroom for a long time, you know? She's like, well, what are you doing? I was like, it's personal. She's like, seriously? I asked her if she did her reading, and she's like, no. And she's like, I was mad. And I'm like, okay, what happened? She's like, it's personal. I'm like, oh my God. You're so extra. So I'm like,
she's extra.
If she, like, I don't know if she really knows about periods, but if she did, I'd be like, well, I had my period, and I had to poop. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't really want to talk about it with you, and I'm sure you don't want to hear about it, little weirdo.
Yeah, like saying you're in the bathroom should be excuse enough.
Yeah, and if you're in there for a long time, you should know what the person's doing, or you can make assumptions, and it's awkward to talk about it. Anyway. Yeah, then that reminds me of the one time where she told me that, if her dad was home, he might not say something if he was in the bathroom or something. And I was like, well, don't you think he'd say something? So I knew he was in the bathroom. And I said, okay, well, if your mom was home and she's like, I'm home, what would he say? And she's like, he'd just say, I'm taking a shit.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I was like, wouldn't he just say, like, I'm in the bathroom? She's like, no. He'd say, I'm taking a shit. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, because she's like, the only reason he wouldn't say something is if he's in the bathroom. I'm like, that's weird. Well, he'd pretend to not be home if he was in the bathroom.
Tim says hi.
Someone in your house. All right, so Renee, did you read point 7 on the outline?
Is that the one about the reading stuff? Yeah.
Anyway, so
I mean, they weren't numbered, so I didn't like count what each bullet was.
They're Roman numerals. They're Roman
I didn't
numerals. See. Anyway, what's popping at the movies? Pop. Not much. I've really not been watching a lot of TV, but I finished season 3 of Westworld and I liked it.
Nice. I've been watching this really stupid TV show called Awkward, which is like an MTV show. There's like 5 seasons and it's just like really easy to watch. So I've been watching it, but it's like really bad. It's bad. Remember we used to watch that show Faking It?
Yeah, it's bad like that.
Only vague.
It's like about the girl who like pretended she was like a lesbian and then.
Oh yeah,
like,
that was called.
And then I'm pretty sure. And then we saw then they would always have commercials for Awkward because it was like on after, but we never watched it. It's really stupid, but it's fun to watch.
I'm watching Cougar Town now.
Cougar Town?
Yeah, so I started watching it.
Girl from Friends, Courtney Cox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they have her other friends. Like in I think I'm in the middle of season 2 now or something. They've had, what the heck is her name? Lisa Kudrow and Jennifer Aniston on.
Mm.
They both play
that one we watched that when it first came out and it was really funny, but then like it got dropped and picked up by like a different network and it was kind of weird, I think. So I stopped watching
Tim
it.
know that we're posting this video?
I don't know. Do you know that we're posting this video?
Yeah, I figured.
He said yes.
Well, I heard.
Stop, don't pinch me.
Still wearing your bra?
I still have to work out. Like
Doing
a big
the
deal when I wear a bra
Pilates.
now.
I'm wearing a real bra today because I had an interview earlier.
Wow.
2 interviews, actually. All right.
La.
So you're watching Awkward?
Yeah.
It's not good. Have you watched Dead to Me season 2? I haven't watched that yet.
Yes, I finished it yesterday.
I might watch that, but I'm like, I might wait. I don't know.
It's okay. It's weird too.
Yeah,
I feel like the first season should have maybe been stretched out a little more. It's kind of silly, but it's good.
I also watched.
As far as what?
I also watched Upload.
Oh, that looks interesting. That's like on Facebook Watch or something.
No, it was on Prime.
Oh, Prime, right. I just saw it on Facebook.
But a show that I like on Facebook Watch is Sorry for Your Loss, which you should watch that one. I think it's actually really good. It's with Elizabeth Olsen.
Right. You told me about it before, I think.
Yes, I have.
Probably check it out eventually.
Nice. So, have you thought of a cool name for our reading segment or whatever? In the stacks. The page turner. Oh yeah, bookworms. Okay. And now for inching through the books with the bookworms. I don't know. Anyway. So Renee, have you been doing any reading? Our library is hosting a contest. They're holding a contest where you post the books that you've read during the month. So it's ending tomorrow.
You finished in May.
That you finished in May.
Yeah.
And they're going to draw people to win a $25 gift certificate. 2, actually. What if I won both? That'd be amazing. So I'm reading.
Well, I think one is from the Facebook. One's from the Facebook and one's from the email.
Oh. So should I send both?
But that's why I was like, are you supposed to send one to both? But then the email said that I texted you yesterday. The post said, like, post them to Facebook or email us. So I think it's like.
People might do both, though.
I know, but I don't know.
I'm just going to do both because, like, whatever. I already asked if it was every book we ever read. Because I was like, how many books are people going to really read? But then I'm the one who's probably read the most books because I've been reading like a fiend.
Yeah, you read a lot of books. Well, I finished 2 books, but I listened to them both.
I know, which, like, they actually called it the May Reading Challenge. So.
I think it counts.
Yeah, Renee was posting on Facebook about how she was listening to this Stephen King book, and then she posted it in the reading challenge that she just finished reading it. And I was like, you liar.
I didn't say I finished reading it. I said I just finished this book.
The librarian might be like, this is a reading challenge, ma'am, and we actually researched it and saw that you listened to that book, so...
I've never heard a librarian be judgmental about listening to books. They're, like, pretty much fine with any way you want to enjoy literature.
Fair. Did you read the play that I sent you?
No, not yet.
That's easy.
Yeah, but I'm busy. Like,
are you busy napping?
I took one nap this week for 25 minutes.
You're your mother's daughter.
Okay. Right now I'm listening to this book called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It's interesting.
Is it supernatural?
Kind of. It's like about this party at this old estate, and basically this person like wakes up in a different guest's body every day, but it's the same day he's reliving it and he's trying to solve like the murder.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It kind of just started, so.
I'm on the Silver Chair, which is book 6 in the Chronicles of Narnia, and I think I'm about halfway done. I was really aiming to finish
But those
this,
books are
and
for kids, right? So they're pretty short.
yeah, they're short and they're easy to read. That's why I chose them for this reading challenge, so I could get them all done.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually already had read the first 2, so I started with the book 3. So far, the first book and the third book are my favorites. The first one is called The Magician's Nephew, and the third book is called The Horse and His Boy. And those are so far my 2 favorites.
When's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
That's book 2.
Oh.
Yeah, so Finn will be getting those as a present when I'm done with them, so you're welcome. Anyway. Okay. That's that. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Deerfeet. We're the Deerfeet sisters. Well, actually, we're the Deerfoot sisters. We're the Deerfeet producers, the Deerfoot sisters, and we are prancing away.
Bye, everyone.